What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope you're all doing well. Lot of MLB, not MLB, NBA free agency and NHL free agency. NBA, a bunch of its actual moves. NHL, for the most part, it's trades and extensions because their free agency actually doesn't officially open till about an hour after you all are seeing it. So a bunch of stuff has already been reported. We don't see actual guys actually signing as free agents. More like guys trading teams trading rights to a free agent and then them signing an extension there and other trades and some small re-signings and stuff. Granted, there's not a huge group of free agents in the NHL this year, so it'll be probably pretty laid back compared to past years. NBA, as usual, is mostly just role players trading teams, but a bunch of them are doing so, and we have some big trades. So let's get right into it. We're going to start with basketball. So at first, this is going to be just some boring re-signings and some boring trades, but eventually this will really pick up. The Knicks re-signed Landry Shamet, 4 years and $24 million. This is a really good contract for the New York Knicks. Shamet definitely took a pay cut to return to the Knicks. I have a hard time believing he would not have gotten more than $6 million to see him on the open market. It's going to be 29 this past year. He averaged 9 points a game. That was second most of his career since the 2000. No, excuse me, that was a career high. Actually, the 9.3 game for Landry Shamet. He shot 39% from three this season. That's more than his career average. Was overall very good in the postseason. They definitely missed him when he was hurt. And when he's healthy, he's a very good 3-and-D player. Excellent three-point shooter to the Knicks bring back. I think it's a really good contract for the Knicks and was a piece I think that definitely needed to come back. The Thunder exercised the $17.7 million option on Lou Dort. Not a surprise. You're obviously a very dirty player. He's hard to like, but he is a good defender. Doesn't shoot much, but he is a good defender. I don't think it's out of the woods that he gets traded. At this point, probably not. I feel like they should move him. I just don't think he's needed, especially at almost $18 million. But they probably won't move him at this point, but you never know. The Spurs re-signed Julian Champagnie, 3 years and $45 million. So big re-signing for the Spurs. Very streaky in the postseason overall. He in the finals was not very good overall. Was very inconsistent, but he did have a good season. Best year of his career. Averaged 11 points a game, as well as 5 rebounds. He shot 38% from three. He's a very good three-point shooter, very reliable player. He has not missed a game over the last 2 seasons. He has missed just 8 games over the last 3 seasons since he became a full-time player in the NBA with the San Antonio Spurs. So he goes out there every single night. He's a good three-point shooter, solid player to have. And he's only going to be 25 next year, and he resigns for $50 million a year for 3 years. I think that's a good deal for both sides. Hawks and Kings make a trade. Hawks get Devin Carter at 2033 second. I mean, Devin Carter has not been good. He was a high draft pick once upon a time, somewhat recently. He's still only 24 years old. He's only played 2 seasons in the league. Was a little bit better this year. His first year, he averaged less than 4 points a game. This year, again, was out a lot, only played 38 games. He hasn't even played a full season of games through 2 seasons. He averaged lower than 9 points a game this year. Shot just 26% from three. In fact, he might have actually gotten worse. So he's been really bad so far. Second, just giving away a young player, to me, is kind of stupid. But he has been very bad. And I know they're trying to get under the tax. He's due about $5 million, $5.1 million. So it makes sense as to why he was moved. I get why Devin Carter was moved. Let me just send this text. I maybe look at my phone a bunch this podcast in case any other deals creak through, and so I can break them to you all live on the pod here. We got a trade with the Blazers and the Memphis Grizzlies. The Blazers are acquiring Ja Morant from the Memphis Grizzlies. They are sending Jeremy Grant and Chris Murray to the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm going to be honest. I think that John Morant is a really poor fit for the Portland Trailblazers. They have so many guards. You have Drew Holiday, Shaven Sharp, like Ja is a guy who could score, but doesn't play any defense. You have Scoot Henderson. You have Damian Lillard coming back this coming season. Remember, they signed him to a 2-year deal last year, and then they did not, and he was injured. Didn't he'd be injured because the torn Achilles in the playoffs the year before. And they signed him for a 2-year deal, knowing, all right, they'll have him for a year the following year, and then whatever happens, happens. So Ja goes to Portland for Grant and Murray. I don't like it for Portland. I'm not sure what you're trying to do. A team that needs more spacing, adding John Morant, who is maybe a 30 or 32% three-point shooter for his career. On top of the fact, he's always hurt. He's a complete disaster to deal with. And guy doesn't play a lick of defense. He's just so hard to build around. Now you have Denny Alvia there, and he's very good. He had a fantastic year this past year. I think he'll only get better. I like him a lot. I don't know if he's a one on a really good team. If I had to guess, he's a two. So I don't really know what um to expect from the out of Ja Morant. From the I don't know what they're really expecting to get out of him. Sacramento, I mean not Sacramento, Memphis. I actually like this more for them. You pick up Jeremy Grant, who's a good player. He's not a world beater. He's not gonna completely change them. But Jeremy Grant uh is not a bad player by any means. Okay? He's not a bad player. He's a solid player in this league. I'm gonna pull up his numbers here. But he's not a bad player at all. Yeah, he's been in the league for a while. He's an older player. He's gonna be 33 or 32 this coming season. He just turned 32 recently. A little bit injury prone. He's only played 70 games, one, two, three, 4 times, and he has not done so since 2020. So he is due to miss 20 plus games every year. But like this past year, he averaged 18 points a game, shot 45% from the field, 38, almost 39% from three. He's a 36% three-point shooter for his career. So he's a very solid power forward in this league. Again, he's going to miss a bunch of games, but when healthy, he is a good player. That Memphis adds. How does he fit next to Cam Boozer? Isaiah Stewart's also in that room. I don't know. However, this is a guy that you probably could flip at the deadline, after the year, before the year, if you really want to. So that's a good player. And Chris Murray, he has not been great so far, but he was a first-round pick recently. He is still only going to be 26 years old. 3 years ago was a first-rounder. Past year, averaged only 5 points a game. Only shot 27% from three. He's a 25% three-point shooter for his career. But he's a good defender to have on the bench till he's 26. So I don't think I don't know what he really has to offer. But still going to be 26. He's young and he's cheap. If you're rebuilding like Memphis is, you need guys who are young, who are cheap, and you need draft picks. So you don't get any draft picks for Ja. I don't think there was anything that was going to give up a draft pick for Ja Morant. But yeah, I don't think anyone would have given up any picks for him. But yeah, this is the best you were going to get, and considering the circumstances, it's not bad. You get a player in Grant who's older, but you have him for a year. He'll be a good player. You could flip him for some picks at some point. And Chris Murray is a young guy for you to evaluate. But don't like his report went from Memphis. You don't get much back, but I don't think you were getting much more than this anyway. Job has become a toxic asset. And the Blazers re-signed Robert Williams, 3 years, $44 million. Look, he's a very talented player. Robert Williams, he's a solid big man to have. The guy's never really healthy. He's never played more than 61 games in the season. this past year. In 59 games, averaged 6 points and 7 rebounds. Shot 70% from the field. But he's a good rebounder and a good rim protector. He's a solid backup center. Problem is he's never healthy, so I don't really like the deal, honestly. Almost 50 million a year for a guy who's due to miss 20 to 30 games every year. Is it going to space the floor? You already have Donovan Clingan, who's going to be really good. I know you want somebody behind him, but you couldn't have found an option that was around the same price, but was a little bit more reliable. I don't know, so I don't love that deal. Bradley Beal declined his $5.6 million player option with the Los Angeles Clippers, who was injured most of last season, so he hits the market again. He's probably like, you know what? At this point in my career, I think he like even if I have to sign a veteran minimum, if it means he'll play for a legit contender, the Clippers will not be a contender next year at all. I think he's probably willing to sacrifice money if it means he can join a contender because he played for the Wizards for all those years and they were horrible for all those years. And then he goes to the Suns. That was a disaster. Obviously, he was injured last year on the Clippers and then was mediocre anyway. Lost in the play-in. He'd probably take a veteran minimum to join. Pick any of the contenders that are whoever will be contender this coming year. Just, pick one. So he declined his option. The Jazz re-signed Yusuf Nurkic, 2 years and $22 million. Nurkic has passed his prime. He's going to be 32 years old this coming year, going to his 13th season. The guy's never healthy. Only played for 41 games this past year. Part of them might have been the Jazz just resting him because they were tanking. But he's only played 70 games in the season twice. He's not done since 2000 and three times. Last time he did was 2024. But so this is a guy who you might not have for half the season. This year averaged 10, almost 11 points, 10 rebounds, shot 35% from three, 50% from the field. So he's not going to play any defense. And he's going to miss a lot of games. When he is healthy, this is a very good stretch five who can also rebound. This is a guy who can give you, 17, 18, and 10 on a daily basis. Problem is you don't know if it'll be for 60 games, 40 games, but he's not a bad player when he's healthy. Pistons re-signed Kevin Huerter, 3 years, $27 million. Kevin Huerter, a very simple player. He's there to space the floor. He didn't have a good year this past year. He only shot 30% from three this past year, but for his career, he's a 36% three-point shooter. He's going to be 28. He still averaged 10 points a game this past year. I could see him bouncing back in his first full year in Detroit next year, but he did not have a good year last year. But also, $9 million a year in the NBA is not a lot of money. The Warriors re-sign Kristaps Porzingis, 2 years, $40 million. Look, Porzingis gonna be 31. When healthy, is still a good player, but he's never on the court. I just realized he has not played 70 games in a season since his rookie year at the Knicks in 2016. That's kind of crazy. He's really never recovered from that torn ACL down the stretch in 2018. I hadn't recovered until the next one with championship from that, honestly. But last year, he averaged 16 and 5 last year. He shot 44% from the field. But honestly, I don't know what this guy has left. Yeah, he's only a year removed from averaging 19 and 6 and shooting 48 from the field, 41% from three. He also was wide open every play with Boston because they had Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Drew Holiday on the floor with him. Now in Golden State, he's going to have Stephen Curry playing with him. Even in Steph's age, the guy can still shoot the lights out. To me, he's the best shooter in the NBA until he retires. I mean, he's obviously the greatest three-point shooter of all time. But Porzingis has so many injuries, so many weird health issues, like with his immune system. I do not know what this guy has left. I don't know if you're going to get 40 games out of the guy ever again. I don't think he can space the floor like he once did. Decent scorer, obviously for a guy who's over 7 feet tall, decent defender, defensive pick and roll well. But $20 million a year for a guy who might be out half the year, I'm not sure if I would have done that. But they gotta have some sort of size there outside of Al Horford, who's 1,000 and was not good last year. And I assume Draymond Green's gonna, after he declines his option, eventually come back on a new deal. Green is older and is a fine power forward, but isn't quite the defender he once was, and obviously can't score either at this point in his career. Now we get into some big moves. The Lakers are trading Walker Kessler to the are acquiring Walker Kessler from the Utah Jazz. They give up an unprotected first in 2031, 2033, and pick swaps in 2028 and 2030, and they extend him 4 years, $130 million. Now, I think Kessler is a good fit for the Lakers. Luka fits best with a big man like a Derek Lively that he had in Dallas when they went to the finals. A guy who's a good athlete. He doesn't need to space the floor. Doesn't need to be Jokic or Dirk or even a guy like a Yusuf Nurkic in his prime. He doesn't need to be shooting 40% from three. He just needs to be a good athlete. He can get up and down the floor. He can protect the rim, and he can be an elite lob threat. Walker Kessler checks those boxes, so he is a very good fit. But this is also a player who two unprotected first. Granted, they're 5 and 7 years away. And then you pay him over $32 million, a guy who was injured literally all of last season. He played 5 games last season. He's had injury problems for most of his career. Last time he was even kind of healthy 2 years ago. He played 58 games. He averaged 11 and 12. Did lead the league in offensive rebounds per game, over 4.5 a game. Shot 66% from three. So he's a good fit. He's still 25 years old. But with how valuable swaps become for the Utah Jazz, I think those are pretty valuable in 2028 and in 2030. And two unprotected first. I think it's honestly a slight overpay by the Lakers. However, he is a very good fit with the Los Angeles Lakers. He is a really good fit. But I think it's a lot. And 32 plus million a year for Kessler feels a bit much. Now, if all of a sudden he ends up being the missing piece next to Luka, and Lakers can start getting back to being the Lakers can be for championships, more on why I think they'll be able to do that at the end of this segment. Then it's going to be worth it. But now you can't trade a first round pick for 7 years. You have $475 million total money tied up in Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and Walker Kessler. Reeves just got 4 years, almost $180 million on an extension. Luka makes a ton of money. And after next year, his contract is out. I'm pretty sure. I think he has, or maybe he has an option. So next 2 seasons, you better get this thing together. Otherwise, like if Luka leaves, you are done. You have Austin Reeves, who's a good player, but still borderline all-star, like a borderline all-star. Walker Kessler, fine player. A couple other role players, and that's about it. You don't have any picks, so you will be in deep trouble. So that's the move they make for Walker Kessler. Also make a couple of other moves. They signed former Raptors big Sandro Makamlashi. I apologize if I pronounced that name wrong. He gets 4 years and $52 million. The Raptors declined his option the other day. That player option he opted out of his player option was worth $3 million. Now, he had a career this past year. He averaged 11 points a game, shot 52% from the field, 38.9% from three. So he's a good player. This is, I think, a decent sign. When I first saw it, I was like, I don't know. $14 million a year for this guy. But he's only going to be 27. He averaged 11 points a game last year. Coming off the bench mainly. This is a solid stretch 5 to have on your team, and he's only going to be 27 years old. They have a team went from really having no size with Jackson Hayes and DeAndre Ayton, who the fact that that guy was the first overall pick should be a crime against humanity. Now you have Walker Kessler and Sandro Makamlashvili, whatever his name is. I don't care what you think about. I know I just talked about how I think the Kessler deal could age poorly. However you think about any of these guys, that's a massive upgrade. Then those two, Sandro and Walker Kessler is miles better than DeAndre Ayton and Jackson Hayes, two complete first-round busts, especially DeAndre Ayton. Hayes is also a top 10 pick once upon a time. It's funny, the Lakers, I think, the Pelicans took him, I think, with the pick that they got from the Anthony Davis show, which is kind of funny how he ended up on the Lakers. But he's also not very good, so that's another problem with that. The Lakers they also signed Quentin Grimes, 4 years and $60 million. This is, I think, a decent signing. $15 million a year, I think, is fair for him. He's been very inconsistent in his career. Year two at the Knicks, he averaged 11 points a game back in 2023. Shot 38% from three. Looked like a breakout candidate. Following year wasn't very good. Gets traded to the Pistons at the deadline in 24. He ends up in Dallas. 2 years ago, they send him to Philly at the trade deadline. He balls out the down stretch in Philly 2 years ago, averaged almost 22 points a game, shooting 37% from three, almost 8 attempts a game in the last 28 games. And then this year was just kind of fine. Coming off the bench, averaged 13 points a game, shot 45% from the field, 33% from three. Now, he was not going to stay on the pace he was the year before. The pace he was on the year before was an All NBA caliber player. He was never going to stay on that pace. But he wasn't great last year. So year to year, he has been inconsistent. But he's a solid wing defender. When he's on, he's a really good three-point shooter, but he is very streaky. But not a bad piece for the Lakers to add. They need to have some 3-and-D pieces around Luka, and they do get that with Quentin Grimes. And Lakers also signed Colin Sexton, 2 years and $19 million. I liked him a lot coming out of Alabama back in 2019 with Cleveland. He didn't really turn to the player that I thought he'd be. His best year was in 2021 with Cleveland, second to last year in Cleveland for him when he averaged 24 points a game and shot 47% from the field and 37 from three. But he's a good player. He's always been a solid player. He was last year between Charlotte and the Bulls. He went to the Bulls in the Kobe White trade. Averaged 15 points a game, shot 40% from three, averaged 17 a game, shot 41 from three in the last 26 games he played for the Chicago Bulls. So he's a good player. That's a very nice pickup for the Lakers. Gives him a secondary ball handler and a guy who can shoot a three. Can't defend, but he's a very solid backup point guard. I like that move a lot for the Los Angeles Lakers. The Celtics make a pair of moves. They signed Mitchell Robinson, 3 years, $47.5 million. Sad to see Mitch go as a Knicks fan. Really wish he didn't sign in balls because I can't root for him, but he won a ring with the Knicks, was there 8 years, was there through everything. For all of his flaws that were frustrating, from his free throw shooting to his inability to really score at all outside of the paint and his injury issues. That offensive rebound he got off that missed free throw in the last 25 seconds of Game 5 will be remembered forever. So thank you, Mitchell Robinson. Best of luck. But also screw you because you joined the Boston Celtics. Not a terrible move for the Celtics. I think lower 15 years for him is fair. The guy's such an elite rebounder and such an elite shot blocker. They do need a big man desperately. So that's not a bad move for the Boston Celtics. They also signed Mike Conley a year for 3.9 million. Conley's 40 years old. He's ancient. He had that one playoff game where he showed he can still play. But so as a reserve point guard, not a bad option. He's a good veteran presence, I guess. Next, make a couple of moves. They signed Mo Wagner, 2 years, 19 million. I like him a lot coming out of college. He was on that Michigan team years ago I think they went to the national championship. They may have lost. He hasn't really turned into anything. He's going to be 29 this coming year. His past year averaged a little under 7 points a game. Was injured a lot of the year. Only played 36 games. He shot only 31% from three, so he's not great. Cool, good from the Nets, I guess. And Keon Ellis is a more intriguing sign. You signed him 2 years, 18 million. I think Keon Ellis is a good player. His numbers don't jump off the page. First career, played 4 years in the league. Only averaged 6 points a game. But he's a 40% three-point shooter for his career. He shot 36% from three last year. I thought he was kind of suffering on a bad Sacramento team. I thought Cleveland didn't use him properly. He should have played more in the playoffs than he did. I mean, he averaged 8 points a game with them in 29 games and shot 35% from three. So he wasn't bad with them. I really think Keon Ellis, who's only going to be 27, can be a really good 3-and-D player in this league. So that's an intriguing signing for the Brooklyn Nets to bring in Keon Ellis. Bulls make a couple moves. You re-sign Zach Collins, 2 years and $17 million. Collins is a solid reserve big man at best. He comes back to the Bulls. He's been in the league for a bit. He's played 8 years in the league. This past year averaged 9 points and 5 rebounds and shot 42% from three on over 2 attempts a game. So had one of the best years of his career. He turned into a solid shooter. He's a good rim protector. He was injured most of the year. I just realized that's on me, but he's not a terrible player. A solid backup big man to have. And he goes to the Bulls. Bulls also signed Norman Powell 2 years, 45 million. So that's a solid signing. Powell had a very good year this past season with the Miami Heat. This is what I said when they traded for Giannis. I didn't think they were going to bring him back. Powell averaged last year, made his first All-Star team, averaged over 21 points a game, shot 47% from the field and 38% from three. He's an elite knockdown shooter. That's what he does. He'll be 33 this year, but he's a good veteran to have. He's a good player, and this is a guy that can definitely be moved during the season or after the year for a pretty decent package. So I think that's a good move for these Chicago Bulls, bringing the 33-year-old Norman Powell. Centers make a pair of moves. You sign Ariel Hukporti a year for 3.4 million. So again, Solon Ariel Hukporti. Knicks move on. He's a solid number three center. High energy guy, good rebounder, good defender. Not going to score at all, but Sixers, we all know, they need depth behind Joel Embiid because he's going to play at most 40 games. And they also signed Dean Wade, 4 years and $39 million to Dean Wade for the Philadelphia 76ers. He leaves the Cavs and heads to Philadelphia. He's a fine player. This past year in Cleveland, averaged 5 points and 4 rebounds, shot 36% from three on over 3 attempts a game. So he's a solid stretch forward to have on your bench. Again, Philly needs size because Joel Embiid is going to miss at least 40 games every single season. And the Magic reunited with an old friend. They signed Nikola Vucevic to a 1-year deal worth $3.9 million. This is a good signing. Vuce is an older player. No doubt about that. He is going to be 36 years old. And he was not very good with Boston down the stretch when he played. But almost not even $4 million. That's a bargain for Nikola Vucevic. Last year at 35, he averaged 15 points. He averaged 8 rebounds and shot almost 37% from three. Vooch is still a very solid stretch five. He's still a guy that can get you 18 and 9 or so. He's a good player. This gives you a guy that can shoot a little bit. You never know. Maybe he'll come off the bench behind Wendell Carter. Maybe you run double big with Wendell Carter. Maybe he starts and you move Wendell Carter to the bench. This is a good signing for the Orlando Magic. It's good value. The Houston Rockets make a pair of moves. You sign Marcus Smart, 2 years and $13 million. It's a solid signing. I thought he had a good year with the Lakers this past year. Proven vet. He's going to be 32 years old, going into his 13th year. Obviously played for Boston all those years. He's kind of bounced around, and now he was on the Lakers last year. In 62 games, averaged 9 points a game. Only shot 33% from three, but that's not really what he's known for. He added some big games in the playoffs this past year. He's a great defender. And for the Rockets, I don't know how much of a fit he is because they already have so many defensive players. They need some guys who could shoot and Smart, something like that kind of player. Plus, he's hurt a lot. But he's a good vet to have on a young team like that. They had Marcus Smart. And they had Bogdan Bogdanovic, which is definitely a much better fit. He's been around the block. Another older player. So it gets you another adult in the room of otherwise very young group. He was injured most for a good part of last season, but he, when healthy, averaged almost 11 points a game and shot 42% from the field, 36 from three, 38% three-point shooter for his career. He'll be 34 years old. He's a good spot shooter to have on your bench and something that the Rockets need. Suns signed Luke Kennard, 2 years, $13 million. So the Suns have been busy in this offseason. Of course, you brought back a couple of your younger role players, Mark Williams, Colin Gillespie, and Jonathan Goodwin. Don't love a deal to bring in Miles Bridges for Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal. It's kind of an okay trade, but you get a 29 first and a 27 second in it. And you add Luke Kennard, who's an excellent three-point shooter. He has led the league in three-point percentage 3 times in his career. He has shot north of 44% from the line every year since 2021. So he's one of the elite three-point shooters in the game. He led the league with a 47.8% three-point percentage this year between Atlanta and the Los Angeles Lakers. He's a good player. Had some big games in the playoffs as well for the Lakers this year. And then that's a good signing for the Phoenix Suns. He do make a move. He signed Tim Hardaway Jr. a year for $6.5 million. It's a solid signing. It still isn't enough for a team. It's enough spacing for that team. They definitely still need more, and they can't afford anymore, which is the problem with the Giannis trade that I've already talked about. But Tim Hardaway is still a good player. He was in the finals a couple of years ago. His past year was in Denver. He averaged 13 points a game, shot 40% from three on almost 7 attempts a game. He's still a very solid shooter to have on your bench, going to be 34 years old. Was a six-man of the year finalist this past year. The Heat add a good shooter. Another older player for the Heat. He's going to be 34, which is kind of crazy. I feel like he hasn't been in the league as long as he has been. I remember him. I remember both his stints on the Knicks. This will be year 14 for Hardaway. Obviously, his father was a very good player in the league, Tim Hardaway Sr. And Tim Hardaway Jr. goes to Miami. And the Pistons side, John Collins, 3 years, $51 million. So this is interesting. Well, $17 million a year for John Collins feels a little much, but I'm not sure. There's been a lot of stuff going on with Jalen Duren. Apparently, he feels like he was lowballed in the contract negotiations. Apparently, he met with the Kings. Heard the Lakers are trying to acquire him. So this is an interesting move for them to make with this going on. So I wonder if that means Duren's getting moved. Honestly, like he was really bad in the playoffs. But just move on from him like that? What was he, 24 years old? He was still an all NBA player in the regular season. What did he average? 19 and 10? Like, I think that's a quick plug. But if the guy doesn't want to be there, you might have to do something. The shame, because that team's kind of coming apart. I don't think Tobias Harris is going to resign. You trade away Duren. That'd be kind of a shame that they, are subtracting instead of adding to this young group, especially with a player like Kate Cunningham on the team. Collins last year averaged 13 points, 5 boards, shot 40% from three. That's how he's been for the most part. In 2020, when he averaged 21 and 10 and shot 40% from three, I thought he was next up. Hasn't really taken off, but he's still a very solid stretch spot to have on your team. Gonna miss games. He's only played 70 games twice in his career. So he's a good chance he's going to miss, 15, 20 plus games. But one healthy, he's a very solid stretch five to have on your team. And the Pistons add him. Now I have something to talk about. LeBron James announced that he is going to be leaving the Los Angeles Lakers. I heard the Golden State Warriors are very interested in signing LeBron James. And what I'm hearing is they are the favorites to land him. Heat are also a candidate to possibly sign him. Cavs, to finish things back home, and maybe even Minnesota. I do not want to hear another word about LeBron James. I'm done. I've ranted so many times about this pathetic human being, but I'm done. LeBron James is the biggest joke in professional sports. This guy's career is so goddamn overrated. He gets drafted by Cleveland. He does nothing there. He goes to a finals. People say he carried a team. No, he didn't. That was a good team that he was on. Very good defensive team. The Spurs left him open the whole finals in that 1 year. And he could not make a goddamn jump shot. He's never been able to make a goddamn jump shot in the clutch for what it's worth. Then, a year or two later, he loses to the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. And what does his bitch ass do? He takes his little tail, tucks it between his legs, and he runs and joins two superstars with the Miami Heat. He joins Dwayne Wade, one of the greatest players in league history, top 5 player in the world at the time. Joins Chris Bosh, another Hall of Fame player, top 10 in the world at that time. They had other good players on the team like Shane Battier and Mario Chalmers and Chris Anderson, Hall of Fame coach, and Eric Spoelstra. And in 2011, that first year, the guy put up 8 points in the finals game, being guarded by Jason Terry, an over-the-hill, undersized shooting guard. I like Jason Terry. Didn't mean to crap on him just now. But if you're LeBron James, he lost all credibility. You cannot be included in any all-time great conversations. Then when in your prime, playing on one of the greatest teams ever assembled, you score 8 points in an NBA Finals game, have a horrible finals, did nothing in the fourth quarter all series, and lose to an inferior team in the Dallas Mavericks. Not describing the Dallas Mavericks, that was a great team. Dirk Nowitzki's a Hall of Fame player for a reason. That was a great run that he went on, teams he went through. But LeBron absolutely choked in the biggest moment. In 2012, he skipped through the easiest Eastern Conference in NBA history and beat a very young Thunders team. Congratulations. Then 2013, he once again skipped through the easiest conference in sports history, beat the Spurs. He goes back to back. Cool. Good for him. 2014, again, he skipped through the easiest conference in league history, faced the Spurs again, and got his ass kicked. And what did he do? What he always does when the going gets tough. He tries to get Spoelstra fired and blame him, tried to blame somebody else like his pathetic, whiny ass always does. And what happened? They told him, kick goddamn rocks, you stupid asshole. And he took his ball and went back to Cleveland. So he went re-signed with Cleveland when he couldn't get them over the hump. But now they have Kyrie Irving, a future Hall of Fame point guard. I'm not a Kyrie Irving fan. I think he's an asshole, but he's an extremely talented player. When he's healthy, he is one of the best players in the league. He still is even at this point in his career. But he certainly was at that point. They go at him, and he also joins Kevin Love, who might be a Hall of Fame player, one more underrated players of his generation. They are good role players on that team as well. In the first year, again, he skipped through the easiest conference in sports history and gets his ass kicked by the Warriors in the finals. 2016, he skipped through the easiest conference in sports history, and congrats, he came down 3-1. I do not like Draymond Green. I've been very apparent about that. One of the dirtiest players in league history, overrated player, but at the peak of his powers, he was one of the 5 best defensive players in the league. And he should not have been suspended for that game in Game 5. He should not have been suspended. So he got bailed out by the league in Game 5. Game 6, congrats, he had 40 points on 40-plus shots. Not that impressive. Sorry. And Kyrie also had 40 in that game. Don't forget that. And then Game 7, everyone talks about his block. That was the most obvious goaltend I've ever seen, okay? So the league should have called out a goaltend, but they didn't because it's LeBron, okay? And then Kyrie bails his ass out again. Did I mention in 2013 when he went to the finals with Miami? He missed that shot in the ECF before Ray Allen made that shot, and Chris Bosh got that great rebound. Wasn't for Bosh and a ancient Ray Allen making that shot, he would have got to the finals in 2013. In 2016, he got bailed up by the refs and bailed up by Kyrie. 2017, again, gets to the finals, the easiest conference in league history, and gets his ass kicked by the Warriors. 2018, gets to the finals in the easiest conference in league history, and gets his ass kicked by the Warriors again. Everyone talks about 8 straight finals. I don't care when you lost most of them, and you got there when the conference had nobody. This is after KG and Pierce and them broke up with the Celtics. There was no other teams. Those Toronto teams with Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan were not good enough. There was nobody else in the Eastern Conference. Okay, there was nobody else. That's like if I were to fight a 3-year-old baby. Obviously, I'd win the fight. It's a 3-year-old baby. I'm a grown man. Okay, it's not impressive. And then when the going got tough and you realize he couldn't beat the Warriors, what did he do? He took his ball and he ran to the Western Conference. He joined the Lakers, and everyone talks about his Lakers stint. Complete failure. 2019, they missed the playoffs outright. Okay? Since, look at some of the guys on my team. Brandon Ingram, since leaving, has become a very good player with multiple teams. Josh Hart just won a ring with the Knicks as a starting player. And he couldn't even sniff the postseason. Everyone says, oh, well, he was injured. Well, stay in the goddamn court. Oh, congratulations, you won in the bubble. First of all, you put if Anthony Davis at that time was a top 5 player in the world, most skilled power forward ever. Not the greatest. Don't get that confused. Greatest is Tim Duncan. AD isn't even in the same stratosphere as him, especially for all the injuries. But from a pure talent perspective, AD is maybe the most skilled power forward we've ever seen. He wanted that guy. Wow. Congratulations. You had 3 months off between the regular season and the playoffs. Everyone made it in the bubble pretty much. No fans. A lot of teams had guys sitting out because of COVID, and you won. Oh, by the way, if the Heat were healthy, Bam Adebayo and Gordon Dragic were healthy in the finals, you would have lost that finals. Sorry. The most unimpressive ring in sports history. Congratulations. Nobody cares. Then you lost in the first round. You trade all your he trades all their depth for Russell Westbrook. It was a complete disaster. You couldn't even win 40 games. You missed the play-in playing with Russell Westbrook, who's going to be a Hall of Famer. Playing with Carmelo Anthony, who's going to be a Hall of Famer. Playing with Anthony Davis, who's going to be a Hall of Famer. What a joke. You cannot be in an all-time conversation when multiple times you had multiple Hall of Famers on your team and multiple times you did nothing. At best, you got your ass kicked in the finals, and in 2022, you didn't even make the play-in. 2023, congrats on getting to the conference finals, and beating a Memphis team that was really inexperienced and their best player had his head up his ass, was flashing guns on social media. Second round, you beat a washed Warriors team. And then you got swept by the Denver Nuggets. This guy's been swept multiple times in the playoffs. No other guy's ever done that. Okay, how does this guy in all-time conversations when he's been swept multiple times in the playoffs, including multiple times in the finals? 2024, he loses in the first round. 2025, by the way, he lost in 5 games in 2024. Talked all much shit about Denver all offseason and then got their ass kicked in the first round again. 2 years ago, with Luka Doncic, one of the best players in the NBA. And again, I'm not a Luka guy. He's a little overrated, but he's still a top 10 player in basketball. And you lost in 5 to the Minnesota Timberwolves, playing with whose number 2 option behind Anthony Edwards was Julius Flippin' Randle. Also, LeBron could not make a three to save his life. He was historically bad shooting-wise in that series. And this year, congrats beating a Houston team in the first round with no Kevin Durant and a bunch of nobodies. And they got swept again in the playoffs. And now this guy is going to leave and go to the Golden State Warriors team, team up with Stephen Curry, whose dick he's been riding his whole goddamn career. Because he knows he'll never be as good as him. He's not as good as Stephen Curry. He's not even in the same stratosphere as Stephen Curry as an all-time player. Okay? Now he's going to go join the Warriors. All years later, that's worse than what KD did. At least KD lost to them one time. I'm not a KD guy. If you watch the show, you know that. Okay, I am not a KD guy. Him going to the Warriors was the biggest loser move maybe ever. Almost ever, besides everything that LeBron has done. Other than that, KD is the biggest loser outside of LeBron James. But KD lost to the Warriors once in the conference finals. LeBron lost to them 3 times in the finals, and the one finals he beat them in, he got bailed up by the refs, bailed up by Kyrie Irving, and bailed up by Kevin Love. So that would be worse than Kevin Durant. If he goes back to Miami, he didn't want to really sound with them when he was getting his ass kicked in the finals, but now that they have Giannis, he wants to go play in Miami. Cleveland, again. He left them the first time and the second time when he couldn't get the job done in the finals and in the playoffs. And now that, apparently he thinks they need him back. Now they have Donovan Mitchell. He wants to go back there and try and finish things off in Cleveland. Screw you, you pathetic loser that nobody likes. Retire and go away. So whenever you're with you, your goddamn stupid cronies, and your goddamn stupid fans. His fans are the most brain-dead, pathetic, stupid, whiny little bitches that are always moving the goalposts that I have ever seen. I don't want to have a conversation with them anymore. I just want to punch them in the face over and over until I bleed out, okay? I hate LeBron James. I hate his family. I hate his fans. I hate Rich Paul. And I hate Clutch Sports. They're all pieces of garbage. And if they left society, we'd be so much better off. I am tired of people hyping this guy up like the best thing since sliced bread. He's not even top 50 in NBA history. I said it. You don't like it? Suck it. You hear me? Screw you. I hate LeBron James. Screw LeBron James. He's a piece of garbage that makes society worse every time he breathes. Okay? He sucks. He's a pathetic loser. He ruined professional sports by forming all these super teams. Okay? He ruined professional sports. He's the most overprotected, most overrated athlete in the history of professional sports. He ruined professional sports with how he got all these fans on his side glazing him. He started a movement, and now everyone with every player. He started this. This is all LeBron James's fault. The downfall of the NBA is all on LeBron James. Screw LeBron James, screw his fans, and screw his cronies. If you are associated with LeBron James in a positive way, unfollow me. Don't talk to me. I don't freaking like you, okay? Screw you. I hate you. I hate LeBron James. Nobody likes him. Not the way his fans disappear from the face of the earth so I can actually be happy. Okay, screw LeBron James. Nobody likes him. I hope he rots the rest of his pathetic goddamn life. I hope you all enjoyed that rant, and if it made some of you LeBron fans sensitive, good. Screw you. But let's finish up with NHL free agency. So again, NHL free agency does not officially open for another few hours. I'm hoping I can get this out to you by 5 o'clock. Like I usually do, free agency starts at 6 p.m. So actual free agent signs, again, this is mostly going to just be some small stuff and some re-signs, but there is some rather larger deals still being handed out. The Flyers are extending Dan Vladar, their goalie, for 5 years and $5.5 million per year. Very good move for the Philadelphia Flyers. He was unreal in the playoffs this past year for the Flyers. This year in the regular season, 52 games, went 29, 14, and 7, 242 goals against average, now 6 save percentage. A very good year. And he was fantastic in the postseason in their run to the second round of the playoffs. So, and he's still only going to be 29. So he's still got some prime years left. I think it's a good move for the Flyers. He should definitely be their starting goalie going forward. And then moving along, Radko Gudas signs an extension with the Florida Panthers, 6-year deal worth $1.5 million a year. So obviously, it's not a lot of money, only $1.5 million a year. Gudas has always been, a big enforcer. He is going to be 36, which is, I don't know why he got a 6-year deal. He's going to be 36, but he's a very solid player. Decent puck mover, very good defender on the back end, very physical. And if he goes, he heads back to Florida on a 6-year extension. Sabres extend Olin Zellweger, who you recently picked up in the trade, 3 years for $9 million a year. The Penguins make a trade with the Leafs. They get Nick Robertson. They send a 4th-round pick to the Leafs in return. Nick Robertson is heading to the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's a very solid player of his past year. Best year of his career, 16 goals and 32 points, still only going to be 25. Leafs is giving up a talented young player to the Flyers, to the Penguins. Just give up a young player. Why not? They are such a joke. Stars and Predators make a trade. Nashville's getting Marvik Bork from Dallas. They are sending Lubishkin, the defenseman, as well as a 2nd and 3rd-round pick to Dallas. Looking at Marvik Bork. He's a good player, very good young center. 20 goals and 41 points last year for the Dallas Stars. I'm assuming because Dallas didn't want to pay him, so they sent them out to Nashville. That's a good pickup for the Nashville Predators. So only going to be 25. Heading the other way is Ilya Labushkin. He's a solid back-end defenseman. He goes to the Nashville Predators. Wait, did I get the teams mixed up? Yeah, no. Yeah, Bork's going to Nashville. Yes, okay. Because when I was ringing before I did it, I feel like I was going to mix up. So Labushkin's also going to. He's going to Nashville in a 2-3 as well. All right, so Senators extend Nick Cousins 2 years, $1.59 million a year. I feel like Cousins, every year we hear of him being a free agent, he gets his a short-term deal. Hey, make your money, but he'll be going to year 13. He'll be 33. He's patched 9 goals and 23 points. He's just a solid bottom 6 forward. He's been all over the place. He remains in Ottawa for 2 more seasons. Devils extend Nico Hischier, 5-year extension worth $12 million a year, so a bag for Nico Hischier, former 1st overall pick a while back in 2017. He is a very good player. This past year, 28 goals and 66 points. He's a good player. His high mark was in 2023 when he had 31 goals and 80 points. So he's a good player. 12 million a year is a lot, but he's a very good player. When the Devils lock him down, they also re-signed Arseny Gritsuk, 3-year deal for $3.2 million per year. Gritzluck is a good player. He this past year had a good season as a rookie. 13 goals and 31 points in 76 games. Only going to be 25 years old this coming year, so they locked in a younger player for multiple seasons. The Blackhawks extend newly acquired defenseman Bowen Byram, 6-year extension worth $12 million a year. Big deal for one of the best young defensemen in the game. Then to extend Jeremy Lauzon, 6-year extension worth $4 million per season, comes to $24 million total, if my math is correct. He's a good player, had 13 points this past year, very solid defender on the back end. He's a guy who's bounced around, was in Boston for a while. He ends up in Seattle briefly, ends up in Nashville, and this past year was on Vegas, and they extend him on a long-term extension. The Florida Panthers make a big move. They acquired Jacob Markstrom from the New Jersey Devils, their goalie. They send Evan Rodriguez, Jesper Boquist, and Ben Steves to the Devils. I think this is a good move for Florida, who is really going all in. They obviously give up all the picks for Brady Tkachuk pairing with his brother, and now you get an upgrade over aging Sergei Bobrovsky, and that I'm hearing rumors he's going to be going to the Leafs. That Sergei Bobrovsky, nothing is finalized yet. We will see what happens, but yeah, but it looks like it's going to be that's what's probably going to leave. Jacob Markstrom. I'm trying to get his numbers pulled up from this past year. He's a solid goalie. Uh, this past year he has a little bit of injury problem. This past year, 44 games, had 307 goals against average, 883 save percentage. Year before that, 2.5 goals against average, and then 900 save percentage. Year before that, last year in Calgary, 278 GAA and a 905 save percentage. He's going to be 37, but when he has a solid group in front of him, this is a very solid goalie. And he heads to Florida. He's probably in a better spot than Sergei at this point in his career. Evan Rodriguez goes to the Devils. That's not a bad piece for them. This was kind of an okay return for me. Rodriguez is a solid player. His past year, 11 goals and 31 points. He did miss 13 games. He's going to be 33. He's a solid player. He's older. Jesper Boquist is heading to the New Jersey Devils as well as he returned where his career started from 2020 to 2023. He's a fine player. He had only 13 points this past year. He's like a fourth liner. He heads back to the Devils. He's gonna be 28 this coming year, and then Ben Steves also heads the other way. He's a prospect. That's to me, it's kind of an okay return for Jacob Markstrom, but Markstrom is declining a bit, much older. I get why the return was just kind of okay, but if Rodriguez is healthy, he's a very solid glue guy. The Blues buy out Jonathan Drouin. They will pay him $1.3 million for the next 2 seasons. Man, this guy Drouin, he's a guy that does a lot of people did not want to give up hope on. He was a very high pick, was third overall pick by Tampa back in 2013. Was there for a few years, had one really good year. They sent him to Montreal, and he never clicked there. He ends up in Colorado, has one good season, hasn't follows up with an injury-plagued year. He ends up with the Islanders to start this past year. Wasn't great. Eventually ends up with the Blues, where at the very end of the year where he wasn't good, and they just bought him out. He's going to be 31 this coming year. If healthy, he can be a solid player, but he just never turned into the elite goal scorer we all thought he was going to be. And the Kings signed Eric Holla to a 2-year deal with $3.5 million this season. Holla's been around for a while. He's always been a solid player. He's a much older player. It's going to be 35, but 14 goals and 38 points last year with the Predators. He heads to the Kings. Solid pickup for the LA Kings. Let's see. Uh, and let's see what other moves that we have. Oh, we got a bunch. The Sharks signed Mason Marchment on a 5-year deal worth $7 million a season. So that's a big deal for the Sharks. He's a very good player. 19 goals, 45 points for him. So that's a big pickup for the Sharks. Avalanche signed Jaden Schwartz, 3 years worth $3.2 million. So that's a good move for the Colorado Avalanche. He was injured a lot last year, 11 goals, 26 points. The year before had 26 goals. So even at 34, he's still a very good player. So that's all I'm going to cover for today. I'll have a bunch of stuff for you guys tomorrow. Uh, that's all I got for you guys today. Till next time, so long. Have a great day.